Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Relationship Schools podcast. I'm your host, Jason Gaddis, and I'm grateful to get this opportunity to bend your ear around relationships. Thanks for coming. Thanks for playing. Thanks for subscribing to Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and following us on Shopify, social media, etc. Yeah, so thank you. I appreciate also all the reviews you guys have shared, and it's means a lot. Here's one from Z Knight. Highly recommend for self-improvement and relationship improvement. Thanks, Z Knight, for your writing. Keep your podcast reviews coming in if you've gotten value. If this is helpful for you in your life, please scroll up on your phone with your thumb, especially if you're on an Apple phone. It's pretty easy to do it in Apple Podcasts. Okay, thanks again. Okay, we are going through a super intense time right now. We have the pandemic, and then we have this really uprising around racism in this country. And I, as a white man, I'm over here listening and, getting educated. And it's powerful. And I just want to say I stand with my brothers and sisters in the BIPOC community in my own way. Like, God damn it, this has got to stop. And my privilege allows me to not notice the systemic oppression, all the ways in which there's still racism all over the place in this country, and I can feel blind to that. So this is, I don't wish these circumstances on anyone or their family with the death of George Floyd, and it's helpful for me to wake up here. So I hope that's true for you and that you're like engaging in some way. I've reached out to a few folks around the subject, and in the next couple of weeks, you're probably going to hear some conversations around racism. And obviously, because I have a relationship frame, I'm going to be bringing in my questions from that frame, also being white. And I feel grateful that some people have already, in the BIPOC community, have already agreed to come on the show to help us out. And we're going to dialogue about race and racism. So my aim is to try to help you understand this topic more so that you can engage, because I know sometimes I freeze in moments like this. Okay, so coming up, there's going to be we're going to suspend some of the regular podcasts that were planned to go out, and I really want there to be a few on racism and what we're doing about it and how we all can help right now. And primarily, I'm in listening mode right now. Cool. Thanks for that. And I'm excited to dive into this week's topic. It was more relevant a few weeks ago when I recorded it, and it's still relevant, I think, for some of us. And I think there's a lesson you can glean here when I talk about mask shaming. And really, it's just about two people not being on the same page and arguing about whose way is right or better. And we see a lot of this, obviously, in the world right now. So hopefully this episode will be helpful, and maybe you can have a sense of humor with it as well, because it's just indicative of how we treat each other, all right? Okay, without further ado, let's get into this short episode. Hey there, what's up, and welcome back to another episode of the Relationship Schools podcast. Today I want to talk about mask shaming. Mask shaming, you ask? What the hell is that? Exactly. Mask shaming is, there's two sides to mask shaming. Right now we're in this pandemic, right? And in a lot of states, cities, towns, counties, there's a lot of control and rules around wearing a mask. And then there's other states, counties, towns, provinces, cities, whatever, who are saying, you don't have to wear masks. And so we're pretty divided here, actually, more and more. And in this moment, what tends to happen is if I'm a person who wants things to open up, I'm going to say, I'm not going to wear a mask, probably. And I might even shame you for wearing a mask and being so controlled because you are holding me back from what I want to do. I want my job back type of thing. On the other side, if you're more in the place where it's like, no, wearing a mask is actually going to be what prevents the spread of this virus, and we should all be wearing a mask. If that's your orientation and you see people not wearing a mask, you're going to judge them. And you might internally in your mind shame them. God, what an asshole. I can't believe he's not wearing a mask. Or you might publicly shame that person for not wearing a mask or standing 6 feet from someone else. So either way, this is called mask shaming. And let's just examine this for a minute, okay? So what is going on here is people are wanting other people to conform to their values, the things they value and the way they see it. And this is a really interesting study in human behavior right now because I actually don't have a strong opinion like you have to wear a mask and you don't have to wear a mask. If you understand people and their self-righteousness or their stance or their position with the mask situation, it starts to make sense why they feel the way they do, why they have judgments of you or others, why they might even shame you for not doing it how they do it. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is a great example of how people treat each other in the world. And as you know, here at the Relationship School, we're into teaching people another way. Okay, right now it's like, oh, you're bad for not wearing a mask and you're bad for wearing a mask. And no one is, in that example, in this dyad, let's call it, no one's listening to the other person. And this is so common. It could be Democrats and Republicans. It could be black or white. It could be rich or poor. Whatever the divide is, it's like, can both people come to the table and listen? And this happens in intimate relationships all the time. So the reason this is kind of interesting to me and why I'm even bringing this up as a subject for the podcast is I want you to observe this going on in the world, and then I want you to extrapolate the lessons and bring them into your own life about how you do this and how you sometimes shame other people for not being like you, or you judge them for not being like you, or you feel judged by other people, your family or friends or coworkers, because you're not like them. You're kind of different. You're kind of weird. You don't quite fit in. All right? So let's look at the mask shaming for a minute, and then we can talk about an intimate partnership. So the mask shaming is interesting because if I listen, let's take the position of someone who's really into wearing a mask. Now, I live in Boulder, Colorado. We're required to wear masks in any public situation. And even in our open space trails, we're required to wear masks, okay? So that's, I'd say largely people are pretty compliant. I don't know, maybe there's an 80% compliance on that. Most store owners won't let you into the store unless you have a mask. On open space, it's harder to kind of regulate. So some people are like, hey, I'm outside. Fuck you. I don't have to wear a mask. That's okay. But what you're going to get, what you're inviting is mask shaming or dirty looks or judgment, right? Okay, so let's say you are in the camp of you need to wear a mask. That's what's going to help everybody get back to work. That's what's going to help us all get back to normal because it's going to slow the pandemic. It's going to spread the virus out over a few years, and so our hospitals won't be overrun, et cetera, right? You can go down that logic and you can understand why a person has this position, because in their mind, in their heart, they believe that wearing a mask is the most helpful thing to do, all right? Now, some people are just following orders who are wearing masks and aren't thinking critically for themselves and going, does this make sense to me? They're just like, tell me what to do, government, county, authorities, and I will obey. That's true. Those people aren't thinking critically. They're just following orders. But whatever, it's fine. But if we understand them, if we took another layer down with that person, we'd even understand why they follow orders and they don't think for themselves. We go, oh, right. In your family, you grew up in a family where if you didn't follow orders, you got beaten or punished or ignored. Okay? So following orders, you don't question authority ever, and you get in line, that kind of thing, yeah? Now, let's flip it over to the other side and talk about the people who are not wearing masks and who are like, fuck the mask, I want to get back to work. Like, come on, let's open this thing up again already. So the mask wearers are going to judge that person. Why? Because they're like, dude, you are going to make this virus get worse. You're spreading the virus, you idiot. What are you thinking? And I'm over here following the rules, and you're over there not following the rules and doing what you want. You're less than me. I'm better than you. I'm smarter than you. I know more than you, etc. But if we look closely at the non-mask wearer, and we get to know them, we might start to understand their life and what it's like to be them, which is like, hey, I lost my job and I am freaking out, and my kids are at home. I've got 3 kids at home. My wife and I are completely stressed out. My wife's doing the homeschooling, and now I'm kind of doing homeschooling. Meanwhile, I've been looking for work and I can't find work, and I'm watching our bank account drain, but I still have a mortgage to pay. I still have all my kids' food to pay for. I have all this stuff to pay for, and if I go back to work soon, I won't go bankrupt and I won't lose my house, and I'll be able to feed my children. And it's like very survival based here. And if you enter, and I'm saying this is one position of course of a non-mask wearer, is if we understand them, their behavior starts to make sense. And it's like, oh, I can see why you're not wearing a mask. And I can see why you don't want me to wear a mask, because if we all keep wearing masks, you're not going to get your job back. You're going to lose money. You might lose your house, and your kids might die. It's that serious for some people. And so it's, guys, can we please extend care and understanding toward both sides? And you might not be on a side. You might be flexible or agile between the two, and you might already be behaving this way. Cool. Keep living that level of understanding, because it's inspiring and it helps people understand each other. All right. If 2 people, I'm convinced, guys, if 2 people have tools or a facilitator that's skilled, you can dissolve just about any conflict between the 2 of them if they're willing. If one of them comes to the table and is not willing, and one of them is, yeah, we're in a hard conversation, because the person who's not willing is going to derail the whole thing and hijack it into, a place of stuckness. But if 2 people come to the table who are willing to understand their differences, which is going on in your life, by the way, with your marriage or a close friend or a business partner, there's someone in your life that you think you're better than, or you don't understand, or you judge as less than you or different than you. But if you have tools and interest and skill and care in your heart somewhere, you will stop and take time to understand their position. Why do they believe this so strongly? Why are they so stuck in the way they see it? So what's more interesting than arguing with people about their position and trying to convince them to come over to your side is first trying to understand their position and why they believe what they believe. And you can do this with fundamentalists. You can do it with religious people. You can do it with non-religious people. You can do it with atheists. It doesn't matter. You can listen deeply to someone, and they will feel like you understand them. And then you will have light bulbs go off like, oh God, I totally get why they choose to behave that way, or why they are that way. Now, I get this is extremely hard to do in this climate, especially with the most charged topics like politics, race, religion, socioeconomic class. But guys, we have to start somewhere, and let's fucking start at home with ourselves, the person in the mirror. Let's start looking at the people in our life and trying to listen better to them, right? And that's one of the primary skills we teach here at the Relationship School, is how to listen to another human being. You know how many people are walking around not feeling understood? Most people. And then they have their defenses up, and then they posture and they act inauthentic, because they're like, the last time I got real, I got criticized, judged, made fun of, shamed, humiliated, etc. and it didn't go well. So why the fuck would I open my heart and my mind and like share myself with other people? This is why I'm so fired up about raising kids in a good way, raising children in a good way, right? Then we don't have the fucking George Floyd situation. We don't have people killing each other in the streets right now. We don't have like people shaming each other for wearing masks or not wearing masks. We have people like maybe trying to help each other out or maybe trying to understand each other first. Yeah. So can you be the bigger person here and listen until the other person feels understood? Can you do that? And by the way, a lot of you are doing that. So thank you for doing that. Especially these deeper grads, all you deeper grads who just kicked ass for 9 months. You guys trained your ass off to learn how to listen differently. And now you have a life skill for the rest of your fucking life. And you guys know that. And your life is changing because of it. Because you know how to listen better than anybody in your circle of friends. And it's fucking amazing. So I am psyched and grateful that you guys took the leap with me to do that. You guys rock. All right? And all you coaches, I mean, your skills are like, bam, because you're the bigger person that can actually hold space and listen to other people and have them feel understood. Huge, huge life skill, right? Okay, so instead of mask shaming, let's go for mask understanding. And then again, if you're not relating to this metaphor of the mask situation, just apply it to your partnership, your ex-partnership, where it's like, yeah, I didn't listen very well. I judge them as less than me. A lot of you guys that are into personal growth, judging your partner who's not into personal growth, I get it, all right? And see if you can understand who they are and their history and where they come from, and it might make sense to you. Why they're scared to look at themselves, why they don't want to look at themselves, why they think this is navel gazing, why they think it's just a waste of time and energy to talk through a fight or a conflict. If you take the time to understand them, they start to make sense. And then your judgments soften, and then you're like, okay, cool. And it doesn't mean you have to go along with their way of living their life. It means you can actually get up and leave because you finally accept that they're not going to change, that they're the way they are. Their values are not your values, right? At the school, we talk about this compass, like where you're headed in life is not where other people are headed in life. Stop expecting everybody to head where you're headed or value what you value, you know? Okay. I think I'm going to pause there. Please comment here on social media if you got something to say about this. Chime in. Yeah, I want to just provide this, I think, teachable moment here around the mask stuff. My son got shamed twice for not being 6 feet on a trail. And it was just like, wow, really? This is what we're doing? I'm going to shame an 11-year-old kid for not being 6 feet away from me? Seriously? Is that what we're going to do? Guys. Oh, man. Okay, thank you for all of you listening and continuing to do the work and learn how, let's continue to make this world more relationally adept and caring. You know, there's so many awesome, beautiful people in this world who are suffering and hurting. Let's extend, you know, let's reach, let's be the kind of person that's a safe place to land, you know? All right, good to hang with you all. Oh, by the way, our coaches training is now enrolling. That's relationshipschool.com/RCT. If you want to become a relational leader and learn how to help others with their relationships, you do not have to have your shit together. You do not have to be in a relationship. You can be single. You can be married. You can be divorced. You can be in an open relationship, whatever. If you care about human beings, come learn with us about how relationships work and then coach people on what you're learning. It's so awesome because the world needs it. That's what I'm talking about, right? Okay, relationshipschool.com/RCT. And the program is awesome because you international people who've been listening for years, thank you. You haven't been able to come to our trainings because, you know, the price and then you got to fly and pay for Airbnbs and hotels. Now the training's completely virtual. You can become a relationship coach from Tanzania, from New Zealand, from Canada, from Hawaii, and you don't need to come here. All right? You can. It's an optional graduation event in May if you want to. We'd love to have you. So apply, relationshipschool.com/RCT. I'd love to chat with you. I interview everybody that comes into our program. We've got a great crew building out so far. It's awesome. So I look forward to seeing you in there. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share one of these videos with a friend. We want to help the planet get their act together around relationships, and you are one of them, so thank you.